So I started doing these timeline videos with this intended to be the first one, but yeah, that didn't work out. However, the idea was to finally figure out when Peggy left Montana and to try to create a single unified timeline that makes sense. And I think I've done it.
Hank, in my opinion, it was the second greatest story ever told. But now we have no story. All we have is a big side of beef and 3 broken ribs. You break it, you buy it. That's pink and white for you.
Hey folks, welcome to Squirrel Tactics. Don't hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out our sister channel and our merch store as well as our Patreon. And speaking of Patreon, we have ourselves another new top tier patron. So Damian Whitehorse, this one's for you.
All right. Someone's insane. Look out, someone's insane.
I got my eye on you, nutcase.
Alright, let's do this thing. Okay, so Margaret Platter, also known as Peggy Hill, was born in a small town in Montana around 1957. We know that she graduated from high school in 1975 due to her being the same age and class as Hank. And we already established in his video that he graduated in 1975. There's plenty of evidence for this, including their first Valentine's Day together, which was during their senior year and was 1975, according to Hank's wall calendar.
I'm holding one up to the phone right now. Oh, it's hot.
Oh, yeah. I'm just imagining eating it. Mmm. So tasty. Ugh. I just had phone sex. Ugh.
And the thing is, I'm pretty sure they didn't just randomly put that back there. It's there for a reason. Making Peggy 39 or 40 when the show started in 1997.
Lordy, lordy. Look who's turning 40-40.
We know when she moved to Arlen and when she married Hank thanks to this little nugget.
Well, I was born in a small town in Montana. I moved to Arlen in high school. That's when I met Hank. We married 2 years later.
I've heard enough.
As far as her time in Montana, we only see a few flashbacks to her childhood, and they often don't give much away as far as where they're set. Like when her mother Maddie tried to teach young Peggy about the birds and the bees.
Honey, you're at that special time of life, the time when a little girl becomes a woman, and you start getting a monthly visitor.
Who? Uncle Joe?
My mother gave me this, and I'm passing it on to you.
The loveliness of woman. There's nothing in here but pictures of flowers.
I never even kissed a boy until I was 20.
By the way, we know that's a lie because she hooked up with Wayne Trotter while she was in high school.
I'm sorry?
I would like one more chocolate, please.
Are you hungry, hon?
No. I slept with another man before I met my husband.
And 2.
And she most likely married Hank not long after high school if they celebrated their 20th anniversary.
20 years. If your marriage were a murderer, it'd probably be out by now.
We see her a little older when the two went shoe shopping and Peggy had to get shoes that she didn't want because her feet were too large. And again, it's not clear where this takes place other than, obviously in a shoe store.
But Mommy, I want my Mary Janes.
Oh, Peggy, it's not my fault your feet are growing and you're not.
I found something that can fit her.
Nurse's shoes?
Hey, watch your feet.
She says she wants Mary Jane's, most likely meaning Mary Jane style shoes, especially the classic style that a lot of young girls wear. Or at least they did. Hell, I don't know if they wear them anymore. I'd like to point out that I think she's older in the shoe store disappointment scene due to the fact that she can't wear Mary Sue's anymore, yet that's what she appeared to be wearing when her mother failed to teach her anything about sex and slightly more about flowers. And if I wanted to overanalyze things, I'd say that this was an important moment in her life due to the symbolism of no longer getting to wear the shoes of children and instead being forced due to no fault of her own to take on the shoes of an adult. Beyond that, I do find it odd that she grew up on a ranch but was getting shoes meant for nurses instead of boots. And as someone who wears roughly the same size shoe as Peggy, it's always been a lot easier to find boots in my size than to find any type of tennis shoe. But we need to keep in mind that at this point it had been established that Peggy had grown up in Montana, but not that she had grown up on a ranch. In fact, Peggy doesn't even say the word ranch until a rover runs through it.
She wants us to come to the ranch this weekend.
In Montana?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Do you think you could knock it off with all the personal questions, Hank?
With the closest she comes to saying ranch before that being her talking about sweet, sweet magic piñata candy in Sleight of Hank.
Then the piñata exploded in a shower of candy.
Wow, what kind of candy?
Jolly Ranchers.
Oh my God!
By the way, you might be wondering how I know she never mentions a ranch. It would take way too long to watch every episode in order to make sure. And it's not like I went through every episode's transcripts, except that's exactly what I did. I went through every episode script up to A Rover Runs Through It in season 9.
I just wanted you to know how hard it was.
She did say that she had an uncle who was a cowboy, but later admitted that he was a rodeo clown.
My uncle wasn't a cowboy, Hank. He was a dirty, drunken rodeo clown.
Don't tell me. Uncle Boffo?
Apparently, Peggy knows about some cutthroat rodeo clowns back up in Montana, but again, there are no mentions of cattle or ranching.
We had rodeo clowns in Montana. They are not just inconsiderate. They are diseased freaks who will cut your throat for your invisible dog.
So at that point, Peggy grew up with her mother looking like an older version of Peggy, who was a homemaker and wasn't the most supportive.
Hon, this is so cute. Your first big meal. It must... Peggy, you are not trying to make...
That's right. Beef Wellington.
Cherry pie? Why not just build him a rocket ship?
Mom, would you stop it? He is my boyfriend. It is my dinner. I will cook it.
But Peggy, if Hank discovers you cannot even bake, it is all over.
You think I can't see that?
Do not say can't. You will not use contractions in this house.
But she was light years better than what would eventually come later.
Oh, it's all about you, isn't it? Why didn't you ever do one damn thing I asked you to? Why didn't you marry that boy from across the road?
What? Sven Grammersdorf? The alfalfa farmer's son?
He was a decent man from good stock.
Well, I did not have feelings for him, Mom.
No one asked you to. We were trying to run a ranch, not a feelings factory.
This is the same version of her mother that they were going to visit for Thanksgiving in Happy Hanksgiving.
We just have a small delay.
Hank, I want to make sure my mom has all the ingredients for my brown Betty, which I have made every year from 1976 until I die, inclusive. I will need margarine and not butter.
Is that Peggy? Tell her we use butter in this house.
Okay.
I agree with Maddie here. This is a butter house, and yeah, I still eat Cabot butter along with their cheese.
Boy, that cheese.
Hank does mention in that episode that Peggy and her mom are not exactly the best of friends.
Yeah, see, Peggy and her mom don't always get along, and now Mother Platter's starting to take it out on propane.
Now, we know she was around a grandmother as a child because that's where her song Just the Way God Made Me came from.
You see, I grew up in Montana and I had very big feet. I still do. And when other kids would make fun of me, my grandma told me to tell them, this is just the way God made me. And today, I am able to pass that wisdom on to my students.
And yes, it's a story and song that Randy Travis did in fact steal.
Hank, where were you? Travis told my story. He said that it happened to him. He stole Boggle, he stole Montana, he stole my big feet. Shh! Who said that?
Also, just to show that I don't hate Peggy, here's an Attagirl moment.
What the?
You stole my song!
Attagirl, Peggy. This may or may not have been the same grandmother from whom Peggy got her apple brown Peggy recipe.
I hope you all saved some room for my famous apple brown Betty. The recipe is a closely guarded family secret, passed on from my mother's mother to my mother to me. And someday, I will give it to my Bobby.
Anywho, she grew up with at least one brother who apparently was shown favoritism. I'm guessing this was Hoyt.
Yeah, she said not to bother. She'll just pick up some Sara Lee.
Oh, sure. But if my brother were making brown Betty, she'd freaking lick the bowl.
We also know that she was interested in playing baseball as a child, though she wasn't able to even try out due to good old-fashioned sexism.
Can you run as well as you can hit?
Yes, sir, I sure can.
Yeah, then run over to the store then and get these boys some soda pop. That a girl.
And this scene to me clearly takes place in Montana. The coach refers to soft drinks as sody pop, which contradicts what Hank says in the first season.
Remember when you first moved here from Montana? You called Pop Sody Pop? And you thought 93 in the shade was hot.
But as I've covered in a previous video, pop nor sody pop would have been the proper parlance to use in Texas, especially at that time. Soft drinks would have been referred to as Cokes, as in, hey, get me a Coke. What kind? Dr. Pepper. Oh, and the whole guys won't let her do guy things issue, yeah, that worked the other direction as well, since she wasn't allowed to be a cheerleader later on in high school due to not being seen by the girls and coach as cheerleading material.
You weren't a cheerleader.
No, but only because people who thought they knew me, but clearly did not, would not let me.
Instead, in high school, she worked as yearbook editor, punch stirrer, and played on the softball team.
Why don't you edit the yearbook, Peggy? No! You're so good with paste and scissors, Peggy. Oh, yeah! Your arms are so strong. Why don't you stir punch at the prom? Luann! Quarters!
Speaking of high school, we know from her comment earlier that she moved to Texas in high school, though I don't think she went straight from Montana to Texas because of this.
I can finally replace that papier-mâché pear I got when I was an exchange student in Oaxaca.
Yeah, she spent time as a foreign exchange student in Mexico, more specifically,
Oaxaca,
which is located here for those unaware. And the thing about foreign exchange students is that it's only for high school and above. So she had to be at least high school age in order to be a foreign exchange student, and it would have been for either 6 or 12 months. This is probably where she fell in love with Spanish.
Oh, yeah! Come join the block party. Have at least one margarita before Bill finishes them all.
But we know that she was in Ireland by 10th grade thanks to Bill.
Remember Bob Cecil, Peggy? You went to a basketball game together. You liked him.
Well, that was 10th grade. No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did, but he didn't like you.
So her time abroad was most likely during her freshman year, and my belief here is that her family moved from Montana to Texas when she was out of the country, and she moved to Arlen when she came back, enrolling at West Arlen High.
My school, West Arlen, was playing Hank's school, Arlen High.
Oh my God! It's Peggy Platter from West Arlen! West Arlen sucks!
Oh.
And yeah, I still find it strange that she looks through an Arlen High yearbook in Cheer Factor when it's established that she didn't even go there.
Alice Bullard. She was the best cheer coach I have ever seen. And she was 98 years old. I wonder whatever happened to that woman.
This allows for her basketball date in 10th grade. It allows for her meeting Boomhauer before Hank.
I tell you what, man, it all starting to make sense, man. How you gonna go down for them no shop back? No. For God's sakes, Boomhauer, you've known Peggy longer than I have. She respects herself and hates her feet too much to ever show up on something like this.
Here comes the fondue.
No, it doesn't.
It was also probably around 10th or 11th grade that she and Wayne Trotter had their little experiment that she chose to hypocritically hide from Hank for a few decades.
So, we went back to Wayne's house, gently pushed aside his decorative throw pillows, and then... Oh, yeah.
We know she started dating Hank around the beginning of August before their senior year. She says that they had been dating for about 6 months as of Valentine's Day, hence where I get that from.
Hank and I had been dating about 6 months, and things were really heating up.
Let's also add that though she and Hank were dating, she had a date planned with another guy that she ended up canceling on that would have taken place around mid-December due to it taking place right after the state semifinal game.
How romantic.
What?
That mom was there and she saw you make that play. And then, right after the game, she canceled her date with that guy who ended up building all those airports.
Just paint the dang bridge.
This would have been 4 months into her and Hank dating, and you gotta kind of wonder if she thinks about that guy every time she goes to an airport. I mean, he was mentioned to Bobby, so he had to have some level of impact on her. And Peggy could have been rolling in that airport building money rather than that propane accessory money. Yeah, I'm willing to bet there's a tad bit difference between those amounts. She graduated as part of the class of 1975 and married Hank 2 years after they met. We don't know exactly when they met, but it's safe to presume that they got married about a year out of high school.
And that's after having 2 chickens. Boy, was I drunk.
I killed Fitty Man.
Probably while Peggy was in college earning her 2-year teaching degree.
Then I score countywide with my 2-year teaching degree.
Did you know our school system require only 2-year degree to be substitute teacher?
There's no way I'm going back to college. I'm a teacher. I'm done learning.
By the way, it varies by school district, but all the local districts around me do not require any college education to be a substitute teacher. You pretty much just have to pass a background check. Also, I'm guessing by 2-year teaching degree, she means an associate's degree.
The clock at the bank once said 110 degrees.
Which most likely came from a junior college. I got mine at Kilgore Junior College. And it's possible that she got her degree from Heimlich County Community College.
Heimlich County Junior College. Come for a visit. Stay for the beauty school.
It's also possible that Peggy went to college on a softball scholarship. We see that she was a hard hitter as a child, she played in high school, and she's still rather talented as a pitcher and hitter even as she got older.
Are you blind? He was out by 2 steps.
Hey, man, get on my face,
You
man.
haven't made the right call since this game
about your
started.
wife, man.
This isn't about my wife.
Don't ride, man.
Hey, I'll kick your ass, I tell you what.
Get out of here.
At some point before she married Hank, she also worked as a bagger for Pink and White, doing a job good enough to be remembered for it years later.
Do you know who this lady is? This is Peggy Platter, the greatest bagger the Pink and White ever saw.
I'm Peggy Hill now.
Fun fact, my first job was as a bagger or sacker for Brookshire's. So, Peggy and Hank got married around 1976 or 1977, which lines up because they were together for about 8 years before they had Bobby.
Bobby's head pretty much regained its shape, and Peggy pretty much regained her shape, too. Seriously, that was the day Bobby was born.
Who, yes, it should be added that Peggy wanted to name Jeffrey.
I'm sorry, little Jeffrey.
That's Bobby.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to call him Jeffrey, but some man wouldn't let me.
You mean Uncle Hank?
Though she thought it was a dumb name when it became his middle name.
You know, Bobby, we gave you a dumb middle name.
And it took that long for his conception, not for a lack of trying, but rather it was the whole narrow your reedy thing. Yeah, I'm sure Bill trying to watch didn't help either. And we know Bobby was born around 1985, considering he turned 12 in Chins of the Father, which was set in 1997.
Now, for crying out loud!
Oh, good Lord, Cotton. You gave him a loaded shotgun?
Well, you don't give a toy without batteries. Come and get your Tootsie Rolls!
At some point before Bobby came along, they had a smoking phase, and they also made regular trips to Mexico.
Mexico. Oh, Hank and I used to go every time they devalued the peso.
That got old pretty quick.
Though those apparently stopped when Bobby was a baby, or at least that's when they took the last one before a long sabbatical.
Now, the last time Bobby went to Mexico, he was still on the breast.
All right, now we need to talk about A Rover Runs Through It, the retcon episode for Peggy's past. It's mentioned that she hadn't spoken to her mother in 20 years, though we had seen her mother several seasons before.
No, it was my mother.
Your mother? Wow, what's it been, 20 years?
Mm-hmm. Mother, be careful! That woman in that movie was 30 years younger than you!
And suddenly Peggy grew up on a cattle ranch in Montana. She was there at least until she was Bobby's age, which would have been around 13 or so.
Oh, it reminds me of myself at his age.
And there is zero explanation given for when or with whom she moved to Texas.
If you'd married Sven, we'd be doing all right, but you ran away.
Maddie simply says that Peggy ran away. Again, with who, we don't know. Nor do we know if this was a reference to Peggy moving to Texas or possibly a reference to her being exchanged with Mexico. It's also quite possible that Peggy left not just to get away from her mother, but also to avoid being a teenage bride to the local alfalfa farmer's son.
Sven Grammersdorf.
This episode may also have introduced 2 new previously unmentioned brothers, but that's not exactly clear. Oh, and of course it has to be mentioned that her father, who's referred to as Doc, so I'm guessing he was a vet, the saving animals kind, not the kill fitty men kind.
I
I cannot fit him in.
Though I guess it could be both. Maybe he was a military medic, who knows? What matters is that he speaks in what some see as good old-fashioned poetic folkism that embodies the spirit of the frontier, and others see it as simply the ramblings of a possibly senile old man who wanders his property like a confused ghost looking for its grave.
I suppose I can't tell you much. Them mountains can't tell you better. Well, I never could figure what the sky was thinking. But the soil, she don't keep too many secrets.
I will never forget you, Doc Platter.
Well, the way I figure it, the grass on a prairie.
Ah, there he is.
All of this was a major retcon. The writers were probably trying to explain where many of Peggy's more irritating traits originated from, possibly trying to drum up sympathy for her by changing her mom to someone completely different, and portraying her childhood as being raised harshly on a ranch by a damn near hostile mother. I find it interesting that the retcon basically turned Peggy's parents into the reverse version of Hank's parents, with her dad being more aloof like Tilly and her mother being demanding and constantly disappointed like Cotton. So yeah, pretty much the writers just turned Maddie more or less into Peggy's Cotton. So through all of that, how in the hell can you finagle a single continuity out of throwaway lines, lazy writers, retcons, good old-fashioned Peggy Hill hate, and possibly unreliable flashbacks, all of which swerve constantly like three drunk otters trying to drive a big rig across a rope bridge? Yeah, I figured it out. Okay, here we go. So, Peggy was born and raised in Montana until just before her freshman year of high school, when she spent either 6 months or a year as a foreign exchange student in Mexico before moving back to the United States and moving to Arlen with her father, mother, and brother. She attended West Arlen High School starting in the 10th grade, went to a basketball game with Bob Cecil. It was also during 10th or 11th grade that she and Wayne Trotter had their little time together. At some point in there as well, she met Boomhauer, who I'm guessing is who she met Hank through, with the two starting to date around August before their senior year, got married about a year after high school, she earned an associate's degree, and was married for 8 years before Bobby came along. She has a so-so relationship with her mom, who seems nice enough and definitely loves her grandson.
Grandma?
Happy Valentine's Day, boo-boo.
No!
Your grandmother loves you.
Alright, you with me so far? Good. Okay, so here's the tricky part, because the point is to make everything work.
For that, you would need a time machine.
Exactly. Yeah, we're about to go full endgame and fix this mess with time travel. See, at some point between season 4 but before season 9, probably closer to season 9, Peggy met and befriended an eccentric inventor named Dr. Emmett L. Brown, who often simply went by Doc, and old Doc had invented himself a time machine. So he and Peggy had all kinds of off-screen time traveling adventures, except at some point in their gallivanting, the time machine got stolen. Screw it, we'll just say it was Jimmy Witchert. He goes back in time and changes crap so that now he's Dr. Jimmy.
If I was Dr. Jimmy, no one would call me stupid.
Dr. Jimmy does have a ring to it.
Hey, I thought of it first.
Well, I know.
Give it back! Give it back to me!
Don't worry, he's still an idiot, just Dr. Idiot. And due to Dr. Jimmy's time tomfoolery,
that is a different woman than the one I grew up with.
Certain changes were made to the timeline, which explains how her mother went from not so much being supportive as much as, say, being supportive adjacent.
Your eyebrows look very nice.
To just being downright mean and bitter.
Oh, Mom! What?
Now, you might be saying, yeah, but wouldn't Peggy remember the original timeline? And yeah, she would if this was the original Peggy. It's not. This is new timeline Peggy. The old timeline Peggy faded out of existence at some point off screen. This also explains Hoyt's change, where in the original timeline he was an actual oil worker who hadn't been to prison.
How should I put this? You know, Leanne's first husband is hiding out on an oil rig in the Gulf, and he swears he's not coming ashore until I fax him her death certificate.
And in the new timeline, he was a consistent and perpetual screw-up.
Janine!
I'm lucky, Dad. You're in Arlen.
It's also how Peggy forgot how to ride a bike because new Peggy grew up on a ranch and never learned.
You don't know how to ride a bike?
I grew up in Montana, Bobby. We rode horses. Though a bike probably would have been better because I wouldn't have had to castrate it.
This actually explains a lot of plot inconsistencies. But this changes Peggy's past so that her mother was harsher and wanted to marry her off as a teenager to a neighbor.
Sven Grammersdorf.
So Peggy ran away from the ranch as quickly as she could. We'll just say that she had a grandmother who lived in Arlen, and so Peggy moved in with her while in high school and proceeded to not talk to her mom for like 20 years after she moved away.
The nerve! She spends my whole childhood criticizing me and my whole adulthood ignoring me.
That right there is how a rover runs through it, and everything that came afterward can work into the continuity. So, how did I do? Did I miss anything? Do you feel like bringing time travel in was a cop-out? How would you have fixed it in universe differently? Let us know down in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching, folks. We'll see y'all next time.
You don't know who I am, but I know where you live, sex ed teacher, and you better cut it out if you know what's good for you.
Oh, and Hank, we changed that tee-off time to 3 o'clock. See you.